I trembled in front of the shimmering yellow wall and retreated to the bonfire, shaken to my core. Then she appeared, the maiden who had asked me to bring her along to the mysterious Erd tree, now revealed that she had fed me falsehoods and tested me. She offered to take me to a place where champions supposedly gathered. I couldn't help myself. I took her hand and vanished. When I regained my senses, I found myself in a magnificently warm hall with bright lights, a grand round table, and several peculiar individuals who hardly noticed my sudden arrival. Yet the place was reassuringly silent and felt like a sheltered fortress of contemplation and deep rest. Oh, how I needed this. I spent the next couple of days in Roundtable Hold, conversing with its various inhabitants. Gideon Ofnir, the leader of this much-needed sanctuary, turned out to be both exceptionally knowledgeable and deeply unpleasant. I also talked to Smithing Master Hugh, a brutish, albeit kind-hearted servant who was feverishly preoccupied with his work. But by far the most peculiar creature was an elusive woman dressed entirely in black. Her name was Fear. Seconds after meeting her, she asked for permission to hold me tight. 'Twas a sacred custom among her people. She sought my warmth, and I agreed to her request, hiding a pleasurable sensation behind a thin veil of generosity. It felt obscenely delightful. I spent what seemed like endless days slowly walking the corridors of the Roundtable Hold and found a soothing spot in Ofnir's library. There I almost lost myself in leisurely contemplation. Then, one day when visiting Smithing Master Hugh, I found myself admiring his craftsmanship and realized that I had drowned myself in apathy. I had to go back. I parted ways with the enchanting lady who had given me so much warmth and returned to Limgrave. We rode south in sobering weather, but a couple of miles down the road, something deeply unsettling appeared. Quickly I retreated and headed to the nearby hills. From that stony high ground I saw two trolls, impaled by huge metal shafts. I fled that depraved caravan, continued southward, and approached a heavily guarded bridge, decorated with corpses. I managed to cross the bridge, but only with the help of Torrent. Much to my surprise, I found a blind and abandoned maiden. She came from a castle in the south that was under siege. Her father, who was in charge, had remained there, and she implored me to bring him a letter. Intrigued by this development, I agreed. Continuing south, I rode through ominous ravines and finally crossed a breached outer wall. From there I could see the castle. As I got closer, I had to avoid an enormous creature and entered a blood-stained and empty corridor. The castle was in a sorry state. Soldiers had been strung up like dogs, and corpses were burning in a smouldering pile of blackened flesh. Surely this had to be hell. My blood boiled with hatred as I walked slowly into their midst. A heavy swing stunned the first hideous being, and so the killing began, and they came down on me, like nightmarish insects with rusty blades and bodies marked by sickness and filth. Finally, their gruesome leader, a particularly large beast, in vain tried to overpower me, but the magnificent greatsword I had found earlier helped me ensure victory. Exhausted, I walked among the scorched and disfigured corpses. Why would anyone do this? At the top of the pile, a now blackened servant had been clung to a large wooden pole. No one would remember him as he slowly decomposed. Passing an abandoned armory, I went further into the castle. Scattered groups of soldiers were fighting the loathsome creatures, but this time I sneaked past them all, not caring anymore. In my search for the blind girl's father, I ended up in the middle of a vicious skirmish. 'Twas a madhouse, bereft of reason. Finally I found him and gave him the letter. Edgar explained how the servants had revolted and caused the end of this once proud stronghold. He had to stay behind to protect the legendary sword of Morne, and asked me to convey the message to his daughter. Attempting to flee the hellish slaughterhouse, I lost my way and accidentally ventured deeper into the dark pathways of the ancient castle. There I saw something eerie, glowing jellyfish on a sandy beach next to a shimmering yellow wall. This hardly bode well. I made my way down to the shimmering gateway, and as I entered, I was confronted by a hideously large and sickening creature, not entirely unlike those wretched beings the soldiers fought. The ensuing fight was fierce, but the wicked thing seemed to be in decline. It was not aware of its surroundings, nor was it able to control itself. Furiously it threw itself at me, showing no sign of reasoning or care about the openings it accidentally made. Something was happening to me. I grew stronger and clearly felt a hidden power wake within. After delivering the disease-ridden fiend its final blow, I found Edgar and assured him that the sword was safe and that he could leave. As I finally rode back north, I felt joyous at the prospect of Irina and her father fleeing this gruesome place. They deserved a peaceful life,